Bonjour, c'est moi, c'est Jennifer. I'm your French teacher in the south of France, back with another French grammar lesson for you today. And today we're going to talk about all of the different ways that you can use the French word tout. Okay, so this is the tout that I'm talking about, and we're even going to talk about when you say tout and when you say tous when it has an S on the end of it, because that can be very confusing if you don't know the rules. But there are rules, and there's so many different ways to use tout, or tous, tout, tout. But why are there so many different ways to use it? And why does the pronunciation change and stuff like that? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you just a little list of the different ways that tout can be used, and then we're going to go through all of them. So even if you're a beginner, you can benefit from this class, okay? It's really, you just have to learn the rules, and there are a lot of them. But if you want to take my comprehensive course, you can follow the link to that down in the video description. But first, let's talk about all of the different ways you can use tout before we get into the examples. So, voilà, tout can be an adjective. For example, tous mes amis sont arrivés. Tout can be an adverb. Il faut continuer tout droit. Tout can be a noun. Il n'a mangé rien du tout. Tout can be a neutral pronoun or a neuter pronoun. Tout va bien. Tout can be a plural pronoun. Ils sont tous partis. And that's when I pronounce the S on TOUS, when it's a plural pronoun. So you might be saying, okay, you've lost me. I'm turning you off. All of that's too grammatical for me and everything. But hey, listen, I'm going to use those grammar terms because sometimes, you just have to. But if that makes you nervous, just look at the examples and listen to my explanations, okay? And like I said, if you take the class, there's so much more in there, and you'll come out feeling really confident, more comfortable in your speaking French, your conversations and stuff. So let's get first started. We're going to talk about using tout as an adjective, because that's the first way that you learn it. When you start learning French, you learn how to use tout as an adjective. But there are many different ways you can use it as an adjective. So the first thing, remember, when we're talking about adjectives in French, the reason I say here that tout has 4 forms, adjectives have to agree in number and gender with the noun that they are describing. Okay, so if you know that so far, then you're in good shape. The masculine singular form is tout. The feminine singular form is toutes. The masculine plural form is tout. Now there I'm not pronouncing the S, not as an adjective. And the feminine plural form is toutes. D'accord? So tout can, when you're using it as an adjective, I'm going to give you some examples here of how you can use it to modify or describe nouns. So first of all, tout aide, and you can see on the right what it means in English, tout aide. What we know when we see it written like this, tout aide, we know that that word aide, well, is it masculine or is it feminine? We know it's feminine because it's T-O-U-T-E. And of course we know that it's written in the singular way, so we don't have to add an S to tout, okay? Tout aide. One of the hardest things, you can learn the rules for how to use tout as an adjective, but if you don't know the gender of your noun, you might just have to look it up or make a few mistakes from time to time. That's how you learn the language after all. So here are the other examples. Tout droit, and that means every right. Now you might say, I thought that tout droit meant straight ahead. And it does, but we'll see that a little bit later. That's not using tout as an adjective to describe a noun, okay? So, voilà, tout droit can also have different meanings. Tout âge, toute sollicitation, à toute heure, okay? So there we have it, just, the plain, straightforward, modifying nouns. Now I'm going to tell you some different ways to use tout as an adjective, and the first way I'm going to show you how to use it is with definite articles. Again, that's real grammar talk, but what is a definite article? It's le, la, and les. D'accord? So let me show you some examples of using tout with these definite articles. For example, tout l'avion, means the whole plane. I've had to use the masculine singular form because my word avion is masculine and singular. But you see how it sort of changes the meaning a little bit when we have that definite article in there. It means the whole. Okay? So when I say toute la classe, it means the whole class. Now, some of these you just can't translate word for word from English to French. Tout le monde. Well, it means everyone. It doesn't mean the whole world. D'accord? Tous les enfants, and notice, I didn't say tous les enfants, I said tous les enfants, because I'm using tout as an adjective to describe those children. And toutes les chaises. D'accord? So that's using le, la, and les with tout as an adjective. Now I'm going to show you how to use it with possessive adjectives. So we're going to have one adjective in front of another one. But do you know what I'm talking about? A possessive adjective. It's the mon, ma, mes, ton, ta, te, son, sa, se. When you want to say, for example, my glasses, mes lunettes. D'accord? Let me show you what I mean. When you're using tout, before possessive adjectives, you can say something like tous mes cousins. Tous mes cousins means all of my cousins. Now that word cousin, notice it's the masculine plural form. It doesn't say cousine. That would have been feminine, and I would have said toutes mes cousines. Mais non, ça c'est masculin. Donc tous mes cousins, and I repeat to you, T-O-U-S, we are not pronouncing the S because we are describing my cousins. Okay? Toutes ces voitures, toute ma vie, tout ton gâteau. Now look at that, how we translated tout ton gâteau, your whole cake. All right, so it just depends on the context and what you're talking about. So far we've talked about using tout with nouns. We've talked about using tout with possessive adjectives. We've talked about using it with le, la, and les. Let me show you one more thing. You can use tout with demonstrative adjectives. So what's a demonstrative adjective? That's the ce, ce, or cet, C-E-T-T-E, or ce, C-E-S, for example. It means these, those, this, that. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, demonstrative adjectives. If I said toute cette classe, it means this whole class. So the word this is cette. And again, that's called a demonstrative adjective. Tous ces devoirs, all of this homework. Toutes ces étudiantes, toutes ces étudiantes. Tout ce temps, tout ce temps. So here we have the form of tout being used as an adjective. Again, it's before another adjective. So that can totally happen in French. So that's it. That's how you use tout as an adjective. And if there's one thing, there are a lot of things I want you to take away from the lesson. But remember, T-O-U-S as an adjective, you pronounce it tout. All right? Because that's where so many of my students kind of get mixed up. Now, at this point, if you're a true beginner, you might start to get confused. I'm not telling you not to watch. I'm telling you to take the lesson so that you can learn more. If you've been a beginner for a long time, then this might look new to you, but it's probably time to learn it. Okay, so we're going to talk about using tout as an adverb. Don't get scared off. Tout as an adverb. Now listen, tout can be an adjective. It can be an adverb. We talked about this in the beginning of the lesson. Tout can be an adverb when it's in front of an adjective or in front of another adverb. So tout as an adverb is invariable. And I almost hate to use this kind of language because it sounds like a foreign language, you know, it's so grammatical, but all that it means is that T-O-U-T is the only way that you can write tout as an adverb. Let's think of another adverb like très, right? You know that one, très, very. You never add E's and S's to the end of très, right? Well, when you're thinking of using tout as an adverb, just remember you don't do any of that business anyway until we get a few slides later on down through the lesson. And then, of course, we're going to have some exceptions. But when you use tout as an adverb, look what it means. It means very or completely, extremely or entirely. D'accord? So not only can to be used as an adverb and not change its form, it's invariable, but its meaning changes. So let me show you some examples. Tout droit. Now we have tout droit again. A little while ago, I told you that tout droit meant every right. Well, that's because the word droit, it is a noun. It can be, you know. But when you use, here you're using tout in front of droit as an adverb. So we're using an adverb, tout, in front of another adverb, and it changes everything. Well, how in the world am I going to know if someone's saying every right or straight ahead? Well, if you've just asked someone for directions and they say tout droit, then it's going to mean straight ahead. You know, a whole lot of French just has to do with the context. So, tout doucement means very slowly. Tout à côté means right next to you. Tout à gauche means all the way to the left. So in my lesson, my online lesson, I have lots and lots of exercises and different ways for you to practice this. And so I realize some of these words might be new, but you can learn a lot that way, and you might have to do some memorizing. Now, look, the adverb to with adjectives, all right? Since to, I'm just reminding you, since to is an adverb, it is invariable, okay? So even if the adjective, the masculine adjective that you are putting to in front of, even if it's plural, you still need to just use TOUT and not TOUS, d'accord? For example, il est tout content d'être avec moi. Il est tout content d'être avec moi. He's very happy to be with me. D'accord? Il est tout content d'être avec moi. Voilà, ça c'est facile. Mais regarde, ils sont tout tristes. Ils sont tout tristes. So the first one really looks normal because content is not plural or anything. Makes sense, I would just put TOUT. But ils sont tout tristes. Again, why am I not putting TOUS? Because tout is being used as an adverb here in front of an adjective. So that adjective still has an S on it, triste, right? Because we're talking about il, plural. But the tout is going to remain the same. Voilà. So that's just something you have to get used to and really kind of learn the difference between an adverb and an adjective. Okay, wait, hold on, I have to come see you. At this point, you're going to kill me, but it's going to get really tricky. And so let me just go ahead and explain it to you, all right? And I'll try to anticipate some of your questions as we go along. So, to gets tricky with feminine adjectives. I've just finished telling you that to as an adverb is invariable and it's always TOUT and never TOUS. But notice I did say masculine adjectives, okay? So I have the right to say that it gets a little tricky with feminine adjectives because I didn't even mention those a minute ago. Now, for both singular and plural adjectives that begin with a vowel or a mute H, to, TOUT, is always going to be to, TOUT. So it's going to follow the rule. All right, that's good. So remember, there we're talking about when they begin with a vowel or a mute H. Okay? I'm going to show you an example in a second. But here's the tricky part. When a feminine adjective begins with a consonant or an aspirate H, then this is where everything changes and the big exception comes in. You need to go ahead and use tout, singular, or tout, plural, if the adjective is plural. So there's a huge exception to the rule on not only on using to as an adverb, but to any adverbs in French. It's a big, big exception. All right, so you might have seen something in there and thought, all right, I can handle vowels, I can handle consonants, but what's the difference between a mute H and an aspirate H? Guys, this is so complicated, I know. But, look, mute H, let's first just remember the rule. Mute H, to remains invariable. Consonant or aspirate H, tout, if the adjective is singular. Consonant or aspirate H, TOUT with an S, if your adjective is plural. And so here we go. I promised you I'd tell you what's the difference between a mute H and an aspirate H. Well, here's an example of a mute H. L'homme. You don't say le homme, right? L'homme. Well, l'homme is a word that comes from Latin. Okay, so that's what we call a mute H, and that's why it has an L apostrophe and not an L-E in front of it. But an aspirate H, this is going to be for words that begin with H, but they've been borrowed from another language. So, I mean, I chose hamburger just because it's a word that everybody knows. But you don't say L apostrophe l'hamburger because that's not Latin, okay? You say le hamburger. And if you are just like, oh, wow, this is going to throw me off, I don't really know this stuff. If you're thinking like that, then join my free YouTube French class on Quizlet. If you haven't done it yet, again, the link is down in the video description. And I've made 2 Quizlet study sets. One has 70 words that begin with H, which are considered mute H in French. And the other one has 70 words beginning with H that are words borrowed from another language. So that would be your aspirate H. And then when you take the class, and hopefully you will, you'll notice I've thrown a few of these in the quizzes. You'll be able to understand better what this means. Because when you just look it up on websites, everyone's real happy to tell you mute H, aspirate H, but you have to really understand what that means. Okay, so it might help you to build up your vocabulary a bit with the Quizlet study set. So how does that sound so far? Are you motivated? Are you going to go join the Quizlet? My Jennifer's Quizlet YouTube French class or whatever I called it, because this is not all that's on there. There's tons and tons and tons of study sets that you can use on there if you haven't joined yet. So it's a good free resource. Why not take advantage of it? All right, here we go. Remember, rappelez-vous, tout gets tricky with feminine adjectives. Let's look at this example. Diane a mangé la pizza tout entière. So, despite the fact that entière is a feminine adjective, and it's written the feminine way because what are we describing? The pizza, right? Which is feminine. Tout stays in its invariable state. Why? Because entière is an adjective, it's feminine, but it begins with a vowel. C'est une toute petite fille. Now here, we're going to change the tout, T-O-U-T, and we're going to put an E E on the end of it. Say, toute petite fille. Why, Jennifer? Why? Because when we say, Diane a mangé la pizza tout entière, it sounds really pretty, tout entière. But c'est une toute petite fille sounds awkward and not pretty enough to be called French. So we get an exception, right? C'est une toute petite fille. And here's an example using brillante, the adjective. Notice it begins with a consonant and it is plural. So, ces assiettes sont toutes brillantes. Brillante. Yeah, brillante means shiny here in this example, but don't worry, it still means brilliant. Okay? All right. If you're still with me, we've talked about using to as an adjective, to as an adverb. Now this part is really cool. If you've always wondered, when do I say T-O-U-S, tout, and when do I say tous? Because now I'm going to talk to you about using tout as a pronoun. You like pronouns, don't you? Okay, so tout as a pronoun. When tout is a pronoun, well, you know, it has to be plural. We're talking about using it with the masculine plural way, then you're going to pronounce the S at the end. Get this, even if the first letter of the next word is a consonant. D'accord? Even if, it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's look at the first example, using tout as a pronoun. Now, in this first example, tout is what we call a neuter pronoun, and so that means it's replacing a thing or an idea, never a person. It means all or everything, and it's always going to be spelled T-O-U-T. D'accord? Donc, tout va bien, merci. All is well, thanks. Now watch this one. Mes enfants sont tous adorables. Mes enfants sont tous adorables. I'm pronouncing the S on tout, T-O-U-S, because it's a pronoun. How do I know it's a pronoun? Well, look, it's coming after the subject and the verb. Subject, mes enfants, verb, sont. So that's a little trick, and in the study guide that I have for you, I've written down all of these little tricks. If TOUS comes after the subject and the verb, pronounce the S. Now look, that word adorable happens to begin with a vowel, so you might have said tous anyway, just to make the liaison. But what if that word had been, what if I wanted to say my kids are all charming? Well, that's charmant. I would still say mes enfants sont tous charmants. D'accord? Even if charmant begins with a consonant. Okay, and then here's another example of tout as a pronoun. Les filles sont toutes allées aux toilettes. The girls all went to the bathroom. Now, look back at mes enfants sont tous adorables. My kids are all adorable. All comes after the subject and the verb. I could have easily said, tous, T-O-U-S, tous mes enfants sont adorables. Well, in that case, tout would have been an adjective coming before the subject and the verb, and I would not have pronounced the S. Les filles sont toutes allées. The girls all went. But I could have said, toutes les filles sont allées, and that would have meant all of the girls went. So they basically mean the same thing. It just depends on how you put your sentence together. And honestly, if there's one big thing you can take away from this lesson, it's when to pronounce the S on tous. So this one is something very, very important to remember. Okay, so we'll just come back and see you. So we're going to say subject, verb, T-O-U-S, pronounce the S. What's the difference between tous mes enfants sont gentils and mes enfants sont tous gentils? Tous mes enfants means all of my kids are nice. Mes enfants sont tous gentils means my kids are all nice. So it just depends on where you want to put all in the sentence. Voila, that's the only thing. That's the only thing. Something tricky to keep in mind. You ready? There's a lot of tricky stuff in this lesson. Voila. Since tout can be used as both an adverb and a pronoun, sometimes it can really change the way, the meaning. It depends on context. Sometimes the way you use it in a sentence can really change the meaning. So the only way you can know the true meaning of the sentences that I'm going to show you in just a minute is by the pronunciation. Okay, so in the first of the examples, you have to pronounce the S because tous is a pronoun. So look at this. Ils sont tous contents de partir en vacances. D'accord? Remember, ils, subject, sont, verb. Tous, pronounce the S. They are all. Okay? Next example. Ils sont tous contents de partir en vacances. Well, didn't I just say the same thing? First example, you're not reading it, you're just listening. Ils sont tous contents de partir en vacances. Oh, if I had read the first one like that, and if I hadn't said ils sont tous contents, it would have meant something different. Look at the second example right here. Ils sont tous contents de partir en vacances. Now notice it's written T-O-U-T. Now it means they're very happy to go on vacation. That is an adverb before an adjective. It remains T-O-U-T because it's invariable, even though content has an S on it. So that means they're all very happy. Very. Remember, as an adverb, it means very or entirely or completely. So if you mispronounce this up here and you forget to say the S on tous, people will be thinking that you're saying something different. D'accord? So, voilà. Look down here at these examples. Les enfants sont tous contents. So, pronounce the S. It means, what does it mean? I didn't write down what it means in English. You know by now. It means subject, the kids, verb, are, pronoun, all, content, happy. Les enfants sont tous contents. But on the right hand, now here we're using tout T-O-U-S, as an adjective, comes before the subject and verb. Don't pronounce the S. Tous les enfants sont contents. Voilà. So that turned into be a pretty long lesson. I knew it was going to be. There's just so much information. But so many people have asked me to do this video, so I figured I would go ahead. Now look, if you want the complete lesson guide with all of the examples and rules plus more, you can see I've kind of given you little images here of what the lesson guide, study guide looks like. It is easy. So how do you say easy peasy? C'est fastoche. First of all, if you're already a supporter of mine on Patreon, all you have to do is log in and you can download it for free. And that's my way of saying thanks. And if you're like, what's Patreon? I want to do that. Patreon is just a way of supporting me. You can follow the link down in the video description and find out how it works. Basically, you make a monthly donation and it can be as small as $1 or it can be as large as $1 million. No, not really. I think that it doesn't go that high. But anyway, when you are a supporter of mine on Patreon, I always will give you little freebies like this. Now, another way you can get the lesson guide with all the rules and stuff is by joining my mini course. I've mentioned it a few times, but you can check in the details. You can check for details in the video description below. And in this mini course, you are going to get all kinds of stuff that can help you along in practicing using TOUT as an adjective, as an adverb, and as a pronoun. D'accord? I have in there these little cards that you can print out and you can practice with, and have some of them have answers on them, some of them don't have the answers on them, some of them have the answers and the explanations on them. I have a great big test that you can take, and it's the same as what's written on all of the cards. And then I have 4 more online quizzes where I'm mixing up all the different ways that you can use TOUT. D'accord? So you get all of that plus the study guide. And voila. So I guess that's it for today. Let me know in the comments, or you can always drop me an email, whatever, if you have a special request for a video lesson. And don't forget to sign up for my newsletter, because a lot of times just in a video you can't get all of the information that I need you to know, that I want you to know. Free resources, all of that. And don't forget to go sign up for Quizlet so that you can finally understand the difference between the mute H and the aspirate H. D'accord? And remember, it's just the difference between l'homme and le hamburger. Le hamburger, obviously, is not from Latin. It's borrowed from another language. So, voila. Hope that helped you out today. And I will look forward to seeing you again next week with a new lesson. Merci et au revoir.